Thank you for coming into the closet.
We came out of the closet, but we'll come back in.
Yeah.
Just
this once.
Just for the pod.
Exactly.
Pride month is over. We're back in the closet.
Okay, everyone get back in.
I hate July for that reason.
What do you mean?
Having to go back in the closet.
Like all the companies just take down their rainbows.
It's also my birthday month, so I should like it a little bit more, but
Oh, are you a Leo?
Cancer.
Yeah, I was going to say Cancer.
I'm a true Cancer.
True Cancer.
I love that.
And literally all of my friends are Cancers. We just did a boys trip, 6 of us, and 4 out of the 6 celebrated birthdays in the last 2 weeks. So
Okay.
Do Cancers like each other like that? I would think like 4 Cancers in a fun group is a lot.
If they're all like there for each other's emotional needs and stuff. But yeah.
Our dad's a Cancer. Our dad's also a bear.
There we go. Maybe there's a
actually,
correlation.
I was going to say it, but like you do kind of look like my dad, but I mean, just a little bit.
Your daddy.
Which is a compliment both ways. Yeah. Our dad's like a very good looking man.
I've actually had a lot of gay friends come over and be like, you didn't tell me your dad was hot. I'm like, all right. Okay. Anyway.
Great.
Well,
literally my husband, after he met my dad, he was committed to the relationship because I was like, oh, this was a good investment. Because I look very much like my dad. He's an absolute bear.
Yeah.
So.
I hope I turn out nothing like my father because he is not an attractive man.
Oh, no.
But my mom is really hot, so,
He might hear this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't think he's listening to this podcast.
Yeah. He's probably like, no.
Didn't you read something recently that like the attractiveness of the children is like way more influenced by the woman?
Oh,
I think you read this because...
Did I tell you that? Sometimes we do this. I'm like, which one of us told the other one?
Well, hold up. We should introduce you guys.
Okay.
Welcome in Tim and Arush, the co-founders of the Yes Please party in Denver, which is my favorite gay parties in all of Denver that happen. And I mean that. I really do. Yeah.
Love
Absolutely.
to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was...
I'm Tim.
And I'm Arush, also known as Acid Cowboy. Now.
Acid Cowboy.
And also known as
Glitter Bear.
Yes.
Glitter Bear. Yeah.
We both have 2 names.
Yeah.
I love that.
Acid Cowboy.
Acid Cowboy. That was it. That's a new rebranding that just came out like a few weeks ago. I used to be called DJ Liv.
Yeah.
I've always been curious about that.
Yeah. So the reason was back in Chicago, the way my DJ career started was like I just started playing music at people's parties, and like these were mostly gay parties in Chicago. And everyone's like, oh my God, your music's so fun. So I had like a group of friends and we all gave each other a girl name. And my friend, Jenna, his name is Kyle, but we call her Jenna. She was like, I feel like you're like an Olivia. And I'm like, okay, like I can roll with that. Olivia sounds fun. Like she's kind of like rich, but like hot, And so
our sister-in-law is Olivia, and like that
rich
fits.
and hot. Yes. See, it's a rich and hot name. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So I was like, okay, like let's roll with that. So anytime I would like play music, my friend would be like, oh my God, DJ Liv, like you're killing it, And then I would start wearing this blonde wig when I would DJ out. So then I was like, okay, I'm like fully giving Olivia right now.
Yes.
And then, like, you just kind of grow and, like, change your style over time. And I started really liking the Western style. Like, moved to Colorado. And I was like, love cowboy hats. I have a horse. I literally, like, got a horse.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm fully invested in the cowboy lifestyle. I'm not just cosplaying like the rest of you. And
I like to explain to people when they ask me about Arush that he is the only gay Indian DJ / cowboy. Indian DJ cowboy.
Yeah.
Well, I saw you on your stories once, like, go horseback riding. I was like, oh, that's so nice. He's horseback riding. Yeah. And then I saw it again. I was like, oh my God, he really is going horseback.
He actually has a horse.
I put the 2 and 2 together. I was like, he literally owns a horse. Okay. Which I love
what's
that.
your horse's name?
Her name is Diamond. She's like a big, like, Clydesdale, basically. She's actually a Shire horse.
A Shire horse.
They're a rare breed of horse that is not very common anymore.
Yeah.
But they look like a Clydesdale. Like, she's black. She has, like, big hoofs and, like, the really hairy, like, she's huge. Like, giant,
we grew up in St. Louis, so the Budweiser Clydesdales are like, our saints.
So she has that look. Yeah, I'll take you guys out sometime. And
I would love that.
I
used to be a horse wrangler as well.
Oh, really?
But
No way.
a little short summer stint where
wrangler? Like, what did you do?
It was a summer camp that had 88 horses, and so I would have to like brush them and catch them, and like I never like was the one to like take the kids out. I was always like support wrangler for like the actual wrangler to like take them out. But okay, so how did Glitter Bear come up?
So actually, this is a funny story. it's become my go-go name, but I got the name before I even go-goed, which I was actually in Fire Island. I've got a lot of Fire Island stories actually to tell you.
I
But
love Fire Island.
we'll get into it.
Yeah.
I was at a house and there was this really big, burly bear of a Louisiana man who we were doing introductions, and I guess first time we met, he said, "I have never met a glitter bear before." I should probably have said I was wearing like glittery clothes.
Glitter,
and I
yeah.
always turn a look. So
Yeah.
everything I'm wearing is kind of has a little more pizzazz to it than probably he was expecting. Especially when you look at me, you're like, "Oh, that's a man." And then I open my mouth, and as they say, the purse falls out. But literally, he said, "I've never seen a glitter bear before," and that just stuck. So I like kind of kept that in the back of my head for a long time, like glitter bear. It's so fitting.
I mean, it's like a real image in the brain.
Right.
You know, glitter
It is,
bear.
and it's
like you
like
get
very
it.
like brandable. Like you're not going to forget it.
Yeah, totally.
I do feel a really strong need to live up to it, though. Sometimes I want to go a little more masculine and wear like leather daddy harnesses and hats, and I'm like, there's no glitter in this
bear.
thing.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And people are like, that's not what we've come to expect from you.
Just complete the look. And then like
I
go for it.
put a little something on there, like maybe a little glitter armband, or I'll just literally put glitter in my chest hair. So
Love that. And it stays for days. Days.
literally.
Yeah.
You know, that's an annoying thing about the burner community is like no glitter allowed.
No glitter.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh, because it's like
In the
pollutant
houses
or
or
Yeah.
like on the playa, like you can't, the glitter is like moop, which is
Sure.
matter out of place or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like trash.
No
And it's hard to
feathers.
clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can't clean it. You know, it just like stays there. And so
Right.
they know
So
that like
glitter, feathers, and
like anything perishable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't wear
or
it.
non-perishable.
Non-perishable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Non-perishable.
Non-perishable. Yeah.
Non-perishable.
If they were perishable, they would dissolve.
Right. Well, I was meaning like you can't bring plants, like a house plant.
Oh, really? Not
Yeah,
even-
no
'Cause it-
plants
yeah,
allowed.
like
Isn't that
perishable.
interesting?
But like when they just die anyway.
Yeah, I don't know, but
It's
it's
like
like a
so
big
dry now.
rule.
But I guess it would be like, I guess people would probably buy plants for the vibe of their
Sure.
camp
Yeah.
and then put them all out, and then they would all die and it would just be more trash.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're like, let's
Let's
not
not.
do that.
So basically nothing that's like super consumption that's going to be wasteful.
Everything's
And
real
also
to
the
be.
whole
harm the
thing about
environment
it
slash
is
be hard to
wasteful,
clean.
though, to be
So
honest.
you have to like pack everything out that you brought in, like, and they're
Carry in,
very
carry
serious
out.
about it. Yeah.
But I guess you're right. Like they're trying to not overdo it. And like no animals.
No.
They used to have animals.
Oh, really?
to burn.
Dogs running
So
around.
I would not be welcome there.
Glitter bears.
No bears allowed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's just bear camps.
I have seen like big camp. There's actually a whole neighborhood, and I walked past one that
Well,
had a
there's
whole
the
bunch
big
of
Denver camp, the bad astronauts.
the bad astronauts. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've met some of them.
Here, yeah.
I haven't actually been to any of their parties. Do you guys? Have you guys
I've
ever
been
thrown
to
a party with
few.
them?
And
Yeah.
Jorge, the owner of X Bar,
Yeah.
is part of that camp. as well.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
They've always been nice. They came into Zodiac one night.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, we're throwing a party at Show Pony tonight. It's like all
Yeah.
by the bad astronauts.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
met the founder and they
Mhm.
were like wonderful.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
you know, in a big group of people, I can judge pretty quickly how they treat like their bartenders and everything. All of
Totally.
them wonderful.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was
They-
like, all right.
They all had a look, all had a costume,
Yeah.
and like, yeah, it was good.
Which makes me think I need to meet some of them. But I
No,
Yeah.
for sure.
I'm very outside of that community. I really don't know anything about Burning Man, or very little, I should say.
Yeah.
What I do know is just from like, friends who've been before, but I don't think any of them are as serious as everyone seems to be about it.
Yeah.
Which is always, I'm like kind of scared to ask questions because I don't really know.
Well, don't worry. We'll find a way to work
Well,
into
fine.
the
Well,
conversation.
yeah, it's
Burning
like-
Man
it's
people
part of the
love
conversation.
talking about Burning Man.
Yeah, no, we just had a whole Burning Man episode.
I
It's
know,
like,
we
I'm
can't-
like, God, as soon as it came out of my
You're
mouth,
like, no,
I was like, no.
I literally almost like, and there it is. So we brought it up. We said the
It
magic
lasted
word.
10
like,
seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's so funny.
But it is nice. We went, our cousins camped with us last year, and it's our cousin Josh and his husband Tony. So Nick got to like go out with them. Like I went a few times with you guys, but then like, yeah, we're best friends and we're always together. But at the burn, Nick's like, hey, I'm gonna like go do gay things.
Yeah,
And I'm like, great.
Yeah.
Go
And
gay it
last
up.
year was your first time going.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, for both of you. Nice. Yeah.
And your lifers now?
I think
It's
so.
like-
I think so.
I think
It
so.
sounds like
great.
it.
I think
No, dude, we
so.
like
Usually how it works for
bought
most
It's
people.
become their whole personality.
Yeah, I mean, really,
Mhm.
it's.
Were you festival people before that?
Big time.
Okay.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
you had
but
done
like,
other
when's the
ones.
last time we went to a festival?
It hasn't been since I moved to Colorado, but
Yeah.
like, I mean,
yeah, like I would say
Yeah.
we're definitely EDM, like big campers,
Yeah.
big like into. He was like a camp counselor for 7 years, like just different. And then we were big into like I guess like rave scene.
Yeah,
but we hadn't been to a festival I guess since like way before COVID.
Okay,
and then we were like, we're gonna do this.
We're gonna do this big one. Yeah. Our big one was Lightning in a Bottle, and we would go to that one a bunch. Yeah, I've been to that one for like 4 years.
Oh, okay.
In a row. Yeah,
I hear that that's almost like Burning Man.
It's a little different in that you can still buy something. Like you can buy food, you can buy a place to stay. Like it's still camping for 5 days, but I think it's just like a little easier. Like you don't have to bring as much stuff. There's some infrastructure. There's a lake, so you can like go swimming.
Where is that?
It's in kind of central California, Bakersfield. But it has a similar like type of people that it attracts, maybe a little younger.
Wait, California?
No, the Lightning in a Bottle Festival,
gotcha.
Burning Man crossovers there, and Electric Force is one that I've been to a couple times.
I've always wanted to go.
That one's totally different because it's like the Midwest and a totally different vibe.
But I hear like amazing things.
Oh, it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's a really cool festival. But again, it's like you can purchase things, you can buy food and all that kind of stuff. So
have you heard of Apogea?
I've heard of it. That's like the local burn. Yeah.
I was they just had it like a couple weeks ago, and I was surprised at like how many people went to it. You know, that like I personally knew. I was like, we were out of town, but I like really wish I went to it.
Yeah,
it's like a music festival, but it's also like a local Burning Man culture kind of thing. Yeah,
I feel like I hear a lot about Burning Man fundraisers. So like the different camps, like. So I've never been to Burning Man, but I've been to some parties that were fundraisers for it. So they, I guess, bring the same kind of energy.
It sounds weird to like raise money for people to go party in the desert.
Literally, that's what I keep thinking.
But what it is like the art pieces, or let's say like we have a fundraiser for Dragomi, our like art car.
Yeah.
Some of these art pieces and stuff, it's going to take, year round. There's people to work on it. You got to update the LEDs. Someone has to drive it. The gas to get it out there.
There's a lot of
the updates to this thing. So it's like we're bringing this like art there, or like have you seen the Awakening Hands? That was at the last like fundraiser we did. That was a fundraiser for that because it's like there's 2 people who like work full time on this thing to bring it to Burning Man, and if it costs $80,000 a year for maintenance,
that's
where is that money coming from?
Yeah.
So is that's the purpose of Burning Man is the art, right? I mean, that's kind of
for sure. It's more of a, they don't like the word festival. It's a social experiment, but it's not a music festival. Right. That's like someone will be like, it's not a fucking music festival, but it's
secondary.
But I mean,
there's obviously lots of music there.
Totally, which is art, I guess. So it's like that's not like the focal point, but it kind of is as well. Sure. It's just like everyone brings their art there and does whatever. Yeah. And that's why the Bad Astronauts, like they throw like really good parties too. That's why I want to become better friends with them. And you guys throw parties.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. I was going to say, speaking of music and your brat colored microphone,
I forgot about
just
that.
because I was like, okay, like, are you gay in the summer right now if you don't know what a brat summer means? Yeah. And Nick just knows the background of.
Which I know that Brat is the Charlie XX album. I know that this is the color. I know that when I wear this color, because I have several times, people come up to me and say, "Oh my God, Brat Girl Summer, Brat Summer."
Brat Summer.
And I am like, I get it, but I don't actually know the full background.
Well, that actually really surprises me about you, to be honest. Your name's Glitter Bear.
Literally.
Yeah, no, Brat, it's just an album. It's her new album, but she kind of created like a whole aesthetic for it, which is sort of like, one, the color's so iconic, which is like everywhere. So everyone, if like there's a fire truck that's that color in like some other country, people will just like tape it and like chase it down. But it's also like, it's kind of being like that, like club brat girl, maybe smoking a cigarette, maybe sleeps in her makeup, a little trashy, but also like so Julia fucking Fox, where it's like, I'm that goddamn bitch,
I'm so Julia.
I'm so Julia. Yeah.
So it's like ties right into like being the it girl.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Although, I get it. I didn't need to know about it because that's me.
That's you. Yeah.
It was about me.
It was about me.
Well, I was reading this thing about it and just how genius the marketing was behind all of this.
Yeah.
Like it was just very well thought out and like well done on social media. And obviously the songs and the album have like soared and people are really like vibing with it and everything like that, which is hard to do as an artist these days to just really stand out. And like, she's not new. She's been around for a while, but like, I don't think people considered her like a main act, you know what I mean, for a long time, and now it seems like she is. So
I would agree. I think the gays always knew who she was, but I mean, I don't really know.
I listen
Do the straight
to
people
songs
know?
of
I don't
hers.
talk to straight people.
Yeah, I mean,
Francesca.
Nick and I have been listening to Charlie XCX for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, she was on like Tumblr and stuff. And she was big on that. So
and she was also like a fun kind of electro pop girl, but like the new album really she outdid herself.
Really soared. Yeah.
I love hearing you say that. I was wondering, because that's where my mind always goes. And actually, we can talk about our party in this way, but
yeah, let's get into it.
Eventually, we'll get there.
Let's just dive right in.
I think I have trouble. I probably didn't really get fully into the Brat story and like the whole universe of Brat, because my brain immediately goes, I wonder if she intentionally did this. Like, I'm like picking apart, like, was this a media? Is this like a whole planned out thing that the color is now such a huge thing? Or was it just like she liked the color, she called it Brat, and then people just like grabbed a hold of it, and the internet went wild with it, and here we are. Like, how much of it was actually planned? I don't think
any artist of her size is gonna do something totally unintentional. I think when you're that level of artist, you are gonna like approach something with a strategy and try to stand out in some way.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
I think like truly like in my personal pop girly chronically online opinion is or field of study. It's I have only seen like a few people do albums like this. Like not only is like the concept there, there's so much to dive into with each song, but like with the rollout and involving other people and other events, it's like I have never really seen it besides like Taylor Swift and Lady Gaga that do it.
She's the Taylor Swift.
Just so many Easter eggs, so many little things. Like she had the Brat Wall in New York. I think it was New York or LA. I can't remember, but it was like a giant building that it was painted that color and it just said Brat. And then she live streamed it on TikTok every time it would change. And then she had this one song that was like talking about another pop star, and everyone was like, I was literally on like Reddit comments for like hours at night, just being like, who is she talking about?
Yeah, like find out.
This is like, how did I know my brother was gay? It's like things like this.
Just like literally like
in the pop girly Reddit comments for hours. It's like, come on.
Who is this bitch?
And then like slowly it changed to just say like L-O, and everyone's like, that's fucking Lord. So it's like really, really amazing and how much you can dive into it. And because
you literally have a PhD in gay culture.
Yeah,
I really do.
And as gay as I am, I went to community college. Like,
really, that's so surprising to me. I feel like you're so like,
not the pop culture side of it. Like, I think in college, actually, I was like, that was at the time of like Perez Hilton.
Oh yeah.
So it was being fed to me. Yeah. Now there's so much out there. Like, I have friends that kind of keep me updated, but as much as I'm on like Instagram and that sort of thing, I'm not like digging through Twitter or Reddit or any of that. Yeah. So I miss a lot. Thankfully, people in my life.
Who's running the Yes Please Instagram?
That's me.
Okay, your songs are on point though. Yeah. Very timed well.
So the songs I do pick, which is funny because Arish does all the music
for the parties.
Yeah,
for the parties. Yeah.
I'm really the theme guy. I am the networker. I was really helping with the venues, but now that's mostly you too.
Yeah.
But I'm doing really like the thematics and like the marketing part or the promotion.
Or the producing too of the party.
Producing. Yeah, exactly. And the music, I just really pick songs that I think go with the photo.
Okay.
So it's not always like,
but that's a gift.
I know and love this song, but I like look at the photo, I'm like, oh, that song, that song really works. Like, even if I've only heard that song once or twice, I'll pick that.
Yeah.
But now I feel like I don't have a degree in marketing or graphic design, but suddenly I'm feeling like, damn, in just a year's time, I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll say something just as someone. So I have a degree in marketing, and I worked in New York and did, whatever, PR and marketing and social media for a lot of different brands. I've always felt that it comes from like the gut. Or it's if you really I know
no I like that. That's like
I'm like I of course have had consumer behavior classes and I've had this and whatever, but I'm like, think about what you want people to feel when they see it, what you want people to think about how they're going to feel if they come to your party, and then make sure the media says that.
Yeah,
sure, I'm not a graphic designer, so when I do social media I usually hire other people, but I'm like, I know exactly how I want them to feel. And
vibe.
that's just the essence of marketing.
Yeah.
100%.
So like if you're connected and passionate about it, it's not surprising to me that like you're doing really well at it because people overthink it and they consume too much information and content.
Yeah.
I'm like, literally just make it look like how you want them to feel.
Well, and I think it probably changes so rapidly now that
Mm-hmm.
you can go to school for something, but the trend has changed by the time you graduate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it's funny you say that because I have always felt like I could naturally do it a little bit. But if I was joking when I said I went to community college, I did actually study music business. I don't really use that part of my degree,
Mm-hmm.
but what really was probably a better school for me was my experience in luxury retail. I was in client development for 15 years in training and sales.
Yeah.
And that's all psychology. Like
Mm-hmm.
leading a team to sell and build a brand and like create something in a store. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
thinking constantly about how does the client feel walking in the door? What are they looking for? What's going to like make this a memorable experience for them? What is going to make them loyal and like retain them so they want to come back?
Yeah.
And what are they going to tell their friends about? And that's honestly what
Oh,
we're doing as a
Yeah.
party as well. Like
Mhm.
there is very much an organic element that like I call it the magic that sort of happens each time
Mhm.
we throw a party. We're like, oh my God, did we do this? That was, how
Oh,
and to some
yeah.
extent, we're like, how did we do this?
Right.
But there is also the intention behind it where you're like, oh, this is going to be memorable and this is going to be an opportunity for people to like really feel something different that they
Yeah.
don't feel at a different event.
Well, I
or
think
they haven't felt
a
before.
lot of where it started for me was just that there was a lack of like good house music for the gay community.
Completely agree.
Like that was like main driver for me to do the party because in Chicago, house music is very popular. That's where I moved from. And it's, kind of everywhere. And we have some house music in Denver, but it's very like straight usually.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, I want to bring this house vibe to like the gay community because you can either go to a gay bar here and listen to Top 40, which is like what most gay bars are going to play. And it's fun. Like we still love Top 40 music. It's not like we hate it, but we just wanted something that had a more sexy vibe to it and wasn't just like,
yeah.
pop girly songs. But at the same time, one of the things I did with the music was to incorporate those top 40 songs in a new way, like
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
them housey, make them different so that you can still recognize the song. It's approachable to new people that come into the party and are like, oh yeah, I know this Taylor Swift song or I know this Destiny's Child song, but it's done in a completely different style and housey and like feels just edgier and sexier, you know?
Well,
I
you
love
guys are
that.
so successful at it. I've gone to your parties just alone multiple times, and I always have
Nice.
like I'm like
Yeah.
I almost want to put on like a Batman mask. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like no one's coming with me. You
Yeah.
know? But
That's kind of the beauty of a party like that is you can just come alone and
Uh-huh.
find people to chat with and dance with. And that's the whole vibe we're trying to create is this inclusive community where you don't feel like, I do feel like in certain gay communities, and maybe not in Denver so much, but in other cities that there is this kind of bitchiness or, people are cliquey in their certain groups. And we really wanted to break that down and be like, anybody is welcome at our party and it doesn't matter what you look like or what tribe you belong to, but you can all come dance together somewhere.
Mhm.
And part of that too is that, I saw a need. So it's interesting you say, it's really about the music for you, which we always talk about. It comes from a place of the music
Mhm.
for Arush. And for me, was more about, we're always constantly going to the same places. If we go to the same gay bars every Sunday,
Yeah.
same gay bars
Yeah.
every Saturday and Friday night, like it just gets old eventually.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to find a way to flip that on its head a little bit. And it's not like reinventing the wheel. It's just sort of finding something new and interesting or that feels current, like creating a theme around it and then just finding a fun place to do it.
Variety of
I mean,
venues,
like
yeah.
one of our original ideas was taking over a mini golf course and getting some drag queens to dress as caddies and, people can show up, play mini golf, but then the whole other side of the place is just like a house music dance party. And so
Yeah,
you
that's-
don't really, you probably never heard of that before.
Right, yeah.
No.
So, I mean, it's again,
Things like
flipping
that.
It
things on
honestly
its head
sounds like a
little
Burning Man camp. Like you're
Yeah.
gonna
I know,
fit right
I
in when you
know.
come. Let us know when you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm not going to Burning Man by the end of this, I
Yeah.
never will.
I was gonna say, there you go again.
I know. But
No,
like, that's like the I was like literally like
No, it does.
That sounds like a theme of camp.
That could be like a whole camp.
Yeah.
I feel like you could do that party at Putt Shack or what is it called? Putt Shack.
Putt Shack.
Putt Shack. Have you been there?
One that's open
Uh-huh.
yeah.
That'd be so fun.
I would love to.
Okay.
There's a much longer story that we won't get into
Okay.
today, but we do need to revisit that idea.
Yeah.
I know one of the founders.
We already
of
have
it.
people who want to come.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't know. When
Yeah.
I cut this out, but my best friend, who like I was saying, I'm going to see in Bermuda. Her ex-boyfriend like founded it.
Oh, nice. Amazing.
Yeah.
Let's do
So we have an in.
Let's fucking talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Y'all. February, you guys threw a party at Chasing Rabbits in Vail. And you guys even got a party bus that left from X Bar all the way there and then took us back. Guys, because when I've been to your party before, it was at Club Lexi, which was like smaller, a little bit sweatier. I'd never been to Chasing Rabbit. And this is like a Vegas looking club. It's so nice.
Super nice. Yeah.
With like a thrust stage and everything. It was so cool.
When Nick
That
told
that
me,
stage they added for the party.
Yes.
Oh.
So that was
Oh.
so that the queens had a place. But yes, it was
so cool.
beautiful.
I just heard about it from Nick. Nick, we were telling them like when we were off camera earlier, like I guess we were talking about this on camera earlier, but when Nick like is sometimes like me and the gays are going to go do things. Like you're not invited.
Yeah.
I mean, if I wanted to come, he would always let me, of course.
Sure.
The girls, the gays, the theys.
Yeah,
I feel like we're invited.
Right.
But sometimes it's just the gays.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, sometimes like me and the boys are going to go like find something else to do, Francesca. And, but when he like explained it to me, did you guys get 500 people from Denver to go up to Vail for just a night?
A mix of people that were already visiting Vail, some people from Denver, and just the local surrounding community as well.
Okay.
The truth is, we were really shocked that so many Denver people came up.
Yeah.
We thought,
Really?
yes, because we have a great following and it's gotten even bigger since then for sure.
Yeah.
But at the time, we're like, oh God, we're going to throw a party outside of Denver. I don't know. Are
How's
people
it
going to really
go?
come?
Yeah.
And so that's why we did the party bus concept, because we thought, oh, at least we can bring this many people. We know that, they'll show up.
They'll come.
And the party bus wasn't even totally full because so many people actually just came for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a mix. We had a lot of local Vail people as well.
Yeah.
But even to like commit to taking, I mean, it's an hour and 20.
Hour and a half.
Yeah,
about,
like
yeah.
from Denver. I was
Yeah.
like, that's a commitment.
Yeah.
You're
I
going to
know.
do that long on the bus, go to a party late, and then come back. I was like, oh, like
Totally.
I couldn't believe.
That, I mean, I feel like that's probably why it wasn't like fully filled, the party bus, even though it was a lot of fun. It really, I wish a lot more people were on it. But a lot of people are like, no, I don't want to be on a party bus at 3 a.m. And I'm like, okay, I
And I
guess
heard
you
the
don't.
ride back was a little sketchy. Like, did you take the bus
Yeah,
back home?
it was
Okay.
great.
It was fine.
Fucked
So
up.
I know
but-
Sketchy in the way that people, what do you mean?
Well, no, it was like
Everybody's like,
snowing
Nick was the
and
sketchy
stuff, so
one.
I thought it was like a dangerous ride back.
driving on the highway
Not
from
the
Vail
people.
during the snowstorm.
No, not
yeah,
the people.
I was gonna say the videos I saw
the
were
snowstorm was like happening. Like,
There was a
that
snowstorm.
kind of sketchy.
Yeah,
Okay.
Did I show you the video of us singing?
So I saw them. I don't know if you showed me or if I saw it on Instagram, but I heard other people sent me videos. Like it was a sing along the entire way back because everyone was
Basically.
drunk,
Yeah.
feeling really good.
It sounds super
Uh-huh.
fun.
And
Yeah.
It was a
Still
great
partying.
time. But I thought it was kind of bold of you guys to like rent that whole space out
Yeah.
for a party that like in like a city that you're not based in.
Well, I think one of the reasons for that party that we both discussed is like there is an Aspen Gay Ski Week, there is Telluride Gay Ski Week, both of which kind of have this reputation of being a little like elitist, like it's very expensive,
Big time.
like it's hard to get there, like you
Big
can't, I mean, anywhere to stay is like $500 a night, so it's like
Easy.
the normal
Yeah.
person from like Denver or even the surrounding community, it's like not really accessible to them, and we're like, well, that's just not fair. Like there should be a party that
Mhm.
more people can come to, you know?
Yeah.
right,
And-
Vail is still expensive, but at least it's closer and it's.
But like,
But they
it's,
have all
it's
of
on a
Avon,
different scale, than-
which is nice.
Exactly.
right,
Like-
it
Yeah.
was on a different scale, and we partnered with Mountain Pride, which is like a local organization there that
Oh.
is trying to get more Pride events going in that area
Yeah.
and stuff. So,
Well, 10 out of 10.
Thank
It
you.
was literally so good. And especially just like walking into it off the bus and
Yeah.
like it was just so much fun. I was like,
I'm glad it was
good
And-
fucking
We should give Mountain Pride the credit. They actually found that venue.
yes,
However, we they had very little experience in throwing any sort of nightlife, which is why they got us involved from the beginning.
Yeah.
They Mountain Pride really did all the program for like the skiing, the all the group events.
Yeah.
But they really said, hey, you guys throw the parties for us.
Yeah.
And we also had we'd been to Vail, but not not to party there. So we didn't really know that sort of nightlife scene in Vail either. I don't know if the nightlife scene really
existed.
exists in
It's
that
a little
way.
smaller. We've been to some parties up there, but a lot of their venues are pretty small. It's kind of, same as like Breckenridge, where it can kind of be like tavern vibes.
Sure.
And they have like underground places, but even Breckenridge has Cecilia's, which is more of a club.
Yeah.
Right.
Really, Breckenridge, Aspen, and Whistler are like the three big like nightlife for mountain towns because it's a mountain town. I mean, like, what do you expect? You know?
I think we hope to bring more nightlife and more of the yes please vibe to all of those any mountain town really that has a need for it. There were two things happening there. We were able to bring kind of that queer safe space to a community that doesn't normally have
not have it.
And again, I give that credit to Mountain Pride, but the party aspect was obviously yes please. I say this about so many of our events. It's kind of becomes this marriage of like ideas and energies where we are like, well, we know what we can do really well, and that's the music, that's the marketing, that's kind of creating the theme and bringing the vibes. And then these other elements kind of get mixed in, whether it's from other people or through the relationships that we built. And then it becomes something magic that blossomed.
Yeah. Well, it was definitely magic, and you were killing it as a DJ. I saw you DJing up there. I had to get in the DJ booth and be like, woo!
I literally looked at Arush at one point in the evening, and I turned to my husband and said, this is the best night of his life. I was like, look at his face.
I mean, people were like screaming, literally.
Yeah. It was like definitely, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
Second party I want to talk about. Your Pride at Vinyl, Pride Party at Vinyl on the rooftop was so good as well. Yeah, that was that. Do you think that's like your biggest?
That was our biggest event by far.
Oh, wow.
For sure. Yeah.
Biggest in terms of like any aspect.
Numbers.
The most number of DJs we've had, the most number of dancers and entertainers, and then
Grizz was there. I don't know if we can put that in the podcast.
No. Yeah, it's fine. We're sort of friends with him.
Okay,
cool.
Actually, I haven't told you this, or maybe I did, but I was like Grizz shows up and everyone's like, Grizz is here, and kind of talking about it, you know.
Which, by the way, I didn't see him and I didn't meet him. I was like, the second I found out, I was like looking, but I was like,
I didn't know what he really.
I was running around.
And he looks a little different now.
Yeah,
he does.
Hot,
he's very hot. He's actually like really tall too, and and he's always dressed so well, and yeah, so like I was like with a few people, and you guys had already guest listed me, which thank you for that. And like we walk in, and
we didn't have a guest list for that party.
Sorry,
what are you talking about?
All right, cut that part. I'm just cut that part. No, but so like guest list, like whatever. And I was like with a friend, and he was like, "Okay, hot. Look at you." I'm like, "Oh, whatever." And then like people are like, "Oh, Grizz is here," but then I had to leave. But so I was leaving, and then I'm in the stairwell. And then like Grizz comes up behind me and was like, "Yo, man." I was like, "What's up, man?" And my hair was down, freshly showered. And he was just like, "Hey," he was like, "Dude, your hair's looking epic." And I was like, "Oh my God, like, thank you so much." He was like, "Yeah, this party's sick." He was like, "Yeah, absolutely." I was like, he was dressed great. I was like, "Oh my God, you're dressed great too." And we like had a cute little conversation. And then like, I'm like walking down the stairs, but like the way it happened, like 10 people, like, saw me. I might cut this, but like 10 people like saw me, and I was like,
"You're like, I'm Grizz." Like,
I'm really not that good of friends with him. I'm really not
a celebrity, so I'll be back.
No, we'd love to have him on.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
First, like kind of like out EDM like artists. And he came out, I feel like a while ago when it wasn't that like chill. In that type of scene, I feel like so many people who loved him were so bro-y.
Yeah, especially the bass scene is more like that. I would say like the house scene has always been pretty gay, and very, disco house has always been kind of more of a gay scene. But the bass scene in particular, was more Wookiee, bro-y kind of guys.
I feel like he must have time to do the podcast, right? He's taking a little.
Well, he's taking a break, but that's why I think might be a little obstacle is like he's not really doing anything.
When someone said he was there, I was like, get him on the decks.
Yeah.
I was like, special guest surprise.
Who's next?
Special. I don't think he would do that.
No.
But if he did, that would have been like fucking insane. Like
Literally
people would have
insane.
rushed the doors to like go in here and be like, "Oh, Chris is back, y'all." Yes, please. No. But,
Wait, so how many people were at that party?
1,400?
1,400 was the total number that we...
Which is
Congratulations.
insane. We originally thought the capacity would be 800.
Yeah.
But the momentum was there. We hit 800 like almost a week before the party. And so we reached out to the venue like, should we cut tickets off? And she was like, no. We'll open up the second floor. It's a long party. Like, let people come, And we're like, literally, we'll keep selling.
Yeah.
We just want people to be able to come. So we were so pleasantly surprised.
At the end of it, it was like 1,400 basically, which blew our minds, honestly.
It was fucking awesome. Yeah. It was so much fun.
The thing is, we do work very hard to create these experiences and these events, but it's always like at the end of it, we're still amazed. Like,
that people show up.
People came for our party.
Yeah.
There was a certain point where I walked outside and saw the line. And I was like, are they here for us?
Literally
like,
waiting.
This is amazing. Yeah. But super grateful. So 1,400, but we're just now, I think, also getting, we want to get better at these bigger events because we've only done relatively small things. Definitely, like our sweet spot has been around like 500 people. Yeah. So then Chasing Rabbits happened, which we were like, okay, wow, this is a good crowd. And then this was definitely the biggest party that we've thrown. And so,
which we're battling with that because we do still want to keep it kind of like grassroots local. Like we don't want the party to get out of hand and become this huge thing because then it kind of loses its specialness, in my opinion. Like, I don't know about you, but if I go to like a big like event, like at Mission Ballroom or something like that, right? Like it just takes on a different feeling. You don't really talk to people as much.
Right.
Like,
it's more
right.
impersonal.
You're there for like some big artist that you're seeing or whatever. But I think one of the things that makes our parties cool is like we're trying to facilitate a dance floor where you look at each other and don't just look at the DJ the whole time.
Where you dance, where you talk to each other, where you can actually engage. Exactly. And it's not. Yeah, and the larger something gets,
then it becomes
the harder that is in a weird way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm I want you guys to look at me, obviously, when I'm DJing, but I also want you to look at each other.
Have you seen my outfit?
Yeah. I know. Do you guys have like any venues that you just like really want to do that?
I mean, we've been, I don't know, maybe we'll talk about if we can keep this in here or not, but we want to get church for Halloween.
Okay.
We just think like that venue being such a gothic, like kind of scary place already, like for Halloween will be such a vibe,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been kind of in talks with them about that. But other than that, like, I don't know if we have like a dream venue really.
Well,
like
there's another. So again, after this pride party, we realized, okay, there's obviously so much more opportunity. There's such a market in Denver. There were still people in line even when we hit 1,400 tickets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, there's opportunity to do something even bigger. And so I think we're already thinking really big for next year. I won't say what we're thinking about. But we've been inspired, and not just from our party, but we go to a lot of events. We were both just in New York for Pride. Coincidentally, we didn't go together, but we were both there.
Oh, really?
And we were, every event that we went to, we would kind of like meet up and go,
they that's kind of cool. Or
and it's so inspiring because there's so many good things happening in other cities around the country. We're like, first of all, Denver deserves that.
Yeah.
But also, if we don't do it, who will?
Right.
I mean, there's a ton of great party producers in Denver, don't get me wrong, but we want to be the ones to kind of bring that new, unique experience, and that's the goal.
Well, I think
Stay tuned.
I will absolutely be stay tuned, or be tuned. After I saw Dancing Rabbit, Chasing Rabbit. Sorry. After I saw that there, I was kind of like, oh, I didn't know that they could like do this, Yeah. And so like when you guys talked about doing Zodiac House, I was like telling the owner of Zodiac House, I was like, they can fucking pack it. Mm-hmm. They can fucking do that. Yeah. That is going to be so sick.
Not a lot of people in this town that can do that. Without like the biggest name or like a big DJ from out of town that they have to pay $20,000 for, totally,
Well, I don't know if you've met Acid Cowboy. The music is sick. No,
no.
Jokes aside, I didn't mean to take it, but jokes aside, after every party, that is one thing we hear too. Like, people are very happy with all of the local DJs and like the talent in Denver that we're bringing, but the party has sort of like, as the party has grown, your talent has grown,
sorry, but I was gonna say, like, just exposing people to new music is also a mission of ours, and getting people to listen to different things that maybe they wouldn't necessarily on their own. And like House Tomorrow is a great example of that, where like this is like kind of a deeper hypnotic style of house music, a little techno-y, but like we want to expose the community to that so that they can start being like, oh wow, like I discovered this new person, and like how cool that you can do that in your own town and not have to pay $100 to see a big artist, but like all of this creativeness is going on within our own city, you know?
Yeah. How much are your parties typically?
Usually anywhere from 15 to 25.
Yeah.
So like very affordable.
We were, I mean, I did
even our Pride event was 25,
exactly.
which we felt like we could have charged like 50. But like, you know,
I didn't do a lot of research on it, but I just looking at the different prices we've seen from other parties that we attended.
Yes.
We were probably the least expensive completely for Overpride. Intentionally though, too, because the thought process is like, we want more people to come. And you touched on like that idea that in Denver, the communities kind of mix. Our parties are queer parties. I mean, that is kind of the heart of what we're doing.
Yeah.
But a lot of straight people come as well. And the whole spectrum of the rainbow seems to show up to our parties. And we want to be really intentional about the space feeling like a space for the entire rainbow. So, and you know, we talked about this as well, that every part of the gay community shows up to some extent. We've got the lesbian community, the trans community, every different color of the rainbow in terms of skin tone and cultural background as well. So, and there's not people like to say there's not a ton of that in Denver, but I think when you come to one of our parties, you're like, oh, there are a lot more people of color in Denver than you see, because it's generally segregated, or, you know, you're just not seeing them, the same groups of people in the same room.
Same space.
And that's our goal, is to get those people in the same, because that's where the good vibes come from. I think.
Yeah.
Cool.
We were talking too about how you and I had lived in New York, and that it's funny that people think that like the scene is so much more New York or LA, but I think those scenes have kind of died out there. I mean, they're not, obviously I'm not there right now. I don't know, but I don't think they're as thriving. Like Denver just feels like really open and really friendly, very music focused. But again, I just go back to the word friendly. I can like stand at the bar and like talk to the person next to me and no one looks at me weird. Like I shouldn't be talking to them. And also everywhere we go is always packed. Like this whole city is like everybody our age. Totally. Like I'm saying from like 20s to 40 is about like
it's crazy. Yeah, I agree. It's a young in a way, but the average age of our party, I think, is 35, which is kind of actually an older, a higher age
partiers,
for people who are actually going to this type of party that goes till 2 a.m.
Right.
But to your point, I think the Denver community, there's a level of, it's more organic than you would find at like in New York or Chicago. And there were moments where those nightlifes felt very organic, and that's what made them so amazing and crazy. And we don't live there anymore, so maybe we're biased. But I definitely feel that Denver has that, like,
it's what I think is it's kind of like this, like it's almost a newer place where like new ideas are very welcome. Like I only moved here 2 years ago, and like reaching out to a bar as a total newcomer, I was like welcomed. They were like, oh sure, you want to try this new party here? Like yeah, let's give it a shot, you know? Whereas in like a New York or Chicago, there's like people that have just been doing these for like the last 10 years and they're established, so they kind of have like a hold on everything, and it's very hard to like get them to, you know, give space for somebody else.
Totally.
You know?
Denver's ready for something different. They're open to it.
Yeah.
And I think another element to that is that the people who are here that are filling these clubs and filling these events are all here for similar reasons. They're not here like you might move to New York City because you want to build your career and you want to climb the ladder and you want to establish wealth. You move to Denver because you want sunshine and good vibes. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So every person I know that lives here is like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? They're planning their lives around just feeling good. Doesn't always mean it's partying or whatever that looks like for them, but it means like that energy is all there where they're like, I'm going to tap into whatever feels good for me. And
it's very like recreational.
They're just open. I love it.
Totally.
My husband's going to be so sad. We're never leaving Denver.
We just took a trip back to New York City and, I was like, it's fun. It was cool. But I was like exhausted afterwards. I was like, it just takes so long to get everywhere. There's people everywhere. Like everything is a line. And then you come back here and you're like, oh my God, I can like park somewhere and like just like drive to a place and like not have to worry about it, So that ease of life combined with the culture that we have like makes it just an awesome.
You can sit on your fire escape in New York City and look at the skyline and be amazed. And you can sit on your patio here and look at the mountains and have that same level of amazement. Two totally different things. Yeah. But I always go back to the community in Denver that because some of the bigger cities are so transient and the motivation for being there is different, people don't meld together in the same way that they do. At least in the gay community, my experience, I've never felt the gay community more united than I have here in Denver. Totally. And even my friendships are different here. It's like I had a lot of great friends in New York, but they were always sort of seasonal. They always sort of like evolved very quickly. And here it's like, oh no, we're planting roots and like investing in each other and caring for each other. Yeah. And so that is reflected in the parties. It's reflected in the culture, whether it's house music culture or just, the party scene on the weekends.
We had talked about that earlier. Like I said, anytime I moved to another city that wasn't New York, I immediately was like, oh, this isn't New York. Like, get me back there. But here, I was telling them, I think you were in the bathroom powdering your nose, that right when we moved here, we started going to the gay bars a lot. Yeah. And think of our friends like shout out Farah and Sarah. We like met them and the next weekend they like put us in their group chat for Pride. Yeah. And they were like, here's a spreadsheet of all the Pride events, who's going, who has their tickets, what we're doing. And we had like literally just met them. Yeah. And then
I love that.
Yeah. And we just always see them out, or it's still like if any of them, it's been like a year since I feel like I've really like hung out in that community, like hardcore. If I was like, hey, like I'm trying to go out like with the girls tonight, like, what are you guys doing? They'd be like, please come with us. Yeah. Like it's just like a very close, like deeper, I don't know, like everybody's like asking like real questions about you. Not like, who are you? How many followers do you have? What are you doing?
How can you help me get where I want to be? Right.
Yeah. It's just very much like,
what are your hobbies?
What are you about? Like if you don't give like liability vibes or like creepy vibes, they're like, you're in. Like, totally. Like you've got to opt out at this point because now you're opted in.
I will say though that like with Denver, I think it's like a mecca for gay men.
I mean, it was like, we call it Menver.
Menver. I know
our gay group chat at one point was like 32 people, and it was called Menver. Yeah, and then I opted out. Actually, to your point, I was like, it's too big. But Menver was like, everyone was so friendly. Every person, like, we would put somebody in the group chat, and then the next day they would add something. I'd be like, hold up. We don't know. I don't know half of these people.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost had the opposite experience because all my friends are straight and like literally straight dudes for the most part. But that's also what's so cool about Denver is like even my straight male friends are willing to come to every Yes Please party. They've supported everything we've done. Like they come out for Pride and like they just don't give a shit. Like they're just like, well, we want to be where the fun things are, and like we're secure enough with our sexuality that like we're okay with this going on. We do this other party called Yes Sir, which is it was kind of born almost out of like Yes Please was great and it was like representing the whole community, but we wanted something a little darker and a little sexier. What were you gonna say?
So I was just biting my tongue. We like those sexy dark vibes for sure. Yeah. But it really was born out of people just forced it on us. Like people would find a dark corner at a sparkly like dance party and like kind of start to get a little naughty. And then we would get our hands slapped by the venue and be like, we saw some things we probably shouldn't see in public. And we were like, oh, shit. Yeah. So then it was like, well, okay, there's obviously people want a little darker vibe, a little naughtier. And we are not throwing sex parties, but we created a safe space for
sexy underwear party.
Yes, for people to feel sexier and get a little more naked than they were at our party. So,
but even the name being Yes Sir, like the last Pride, we still had not a ton of women, but we had a few women at the party that wanted to be in underwear and have fun, and like even that was like very cool with everyone. Like, I've heard stories at other gay parties in cities where like women weren't even allowed in a party like that, and we're like, that's just, we don't want to be like that. Like, if you want to come and like you're okay with the vibes that are going on here and you want to be in your underwear, like, come.
Yeah.
I think we're walking a fine line too, because we were millennial. Well, so I speak for myself. I'm an older millennial who, you know, when I was first, right? When I was first coming out of the closet, I needed gay spaces. Like they were sanctuary for me. They were sort of a safe haven, if you will.
Yeah.
And I felt like I could go there and completely let my guard down, be myself, the whole cliche.
Mm-hmm.
But the younger generation now, even younger millennials, don't feel even
the need for that.
Yeah, that space doesn't, it's not as important to them because they came out in high school, not, you know, as a young adult. They came out to their parents sometimes even before high school. So they love the idea that, oh, everybody can come. The ladies can come. My straight friends can come. And that's what they crave. Or actually, I don't even know if they crave it. It's just, it's normal to them.
Yeah.
And so we wanted that space that felt still like, okay, it's still a safe haven and it's still, guys can come and feel kind of their masculine, you know, like desire. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. Yeah. Like the part of gay culture that we don't talk about, the sex part, right? Like what actually makes somebody gay? I don't know. Is it the gay sex or is it the conversation about Brett?
Probably the conversation about Brett.
Off camera earlier, we talked about how I went to like an afters after the club closed at like, I left the club at 6 a.m. and we all went and did like a golf cart sunset ride. And Nick came back with two other gays and they talked about Charlie XCS, Lord, and Lady Gaga for 4 hours straight. And I was like, this is our inside joke. We're always like, what's gayer than gay sex?
What's gayer than gay sex?
It's that. Yeah. But technically, what makes someone real gay
actually gay
is the sex part.
Is doing gay sex.
No, exactly. I mean, but that's my whole point is like, we kind of walk a fine line of like, we want to be as inclusive as possible. We want to create spaces for the gay community that they feel they need. But we also see the bigger picture of like, you know, everyone can enjoy this energy. Everyone can enjoy the music for sure. And the good vibes. And everyone should feel sexy. Yeah. We say that every time too. People message me all the time asking what to wear to a party, whatever the theme is. They're like, what are we supposed to wear? Or even if it doesn't have a theme, they're like, what are you wearing? Or what, you know, what's the vibe? And we literally say, wear what makes you feel sexy. Yeah.
I like that.
That's
a
the
lot.
goal.
But I also like introducing the straights to parties like this because it's like, you guys, the gays know how to party and they know how to party better than you. And it's more fun.
Yeah.
Like, not always, but like, to be honest, it's like if you want to dance and be able to feel like yourself and be around like people, I mean, to be honest, who have probably worked on themselves more and had to work harder to be able to express themselves that way. Totally. And it makes you feel more free.
Mm-hmm.
They probably had more therapy.
Yeah. I mean, really. Or they've had to come out to their parents where you might have some other secrets that you've never had to sit down and talk to someone about because the world doesn't care so much about what you're doing, but for some reason cares so much about who people are fucking or how they're presenting themselves. And I've just always like felt such a like welcoming in those spaces of like, hey, like, I'm not here to ask you like what you do for work or what you do. Like, what's your vibe? Like, what do you care about?
Who are you as a person?
And it's just like a really beautiful thing. And I think like straight bars going there and like grabbing a beer. Like you're not getting that like welcomeness or people to really kind of look at you and like see you.
Totally.
What I do think is funny is like if you have a whole like a party that's only straight men, it's like the straight men don't like it and it's not a party, you know? So you need the girls, right? It's like then now it's a party, but you know what girls love? Gay men, and so it's like, and so it's like
bring
that,
those two together,
and then it's like then it's the party that the girls want to be at.
Like.
No, we definitely need the straight men. We need not.
I don't want to take us down a rabbit hole here, but then what do the gay men love?
It's straight men.
Well, no. They don't love the straight men. They lust the straight men. They love like black women and black culture and the
divas and all that.
The divas,
100%.
And then lesbians, they're the administrators. Like they're the ones that like. That's how you know it's when lesbians show up. Then you know it's actually
we always
good,
talk
safe,
about that
fun
though. Like
party.
Nick is like a like white gay man, and he's like it's funny because he's like I'm almost afforded like so much more like able to say what I want. There's so much more like respect in this life. And I feel like the lesbians are kind of the forgotten ones
for sure.
Gay culture.
Totally.
Which is so like, it's like the face of like queer is typically like a gay man.
Yeah, totally.
And then it's like, like the, you know, like brown community and then like lesbians are just kind of like an afterthought. And it's so funny because they're like, we're the ones who have, in trans community or like we're the ones who have fucking fought for this.
Literally done like, all of the work and we're writing the backs.
But I think that is changing now with the younger generation. Like you can just see that already. That the festival we just went to in New York, it was called Ladyland, and almost every young person there was some shade of non-binary. Like everybody was dressed in a kind of androgynous way, and it wasn't like. You know, it just felt very different from what we were used to, but it was cool to see that like this rise of like people just not caring, like wear whatever makes you feel comfortable, makes you feel cool and sexy, like we said before. Yeah. And I also think bisexuality is on the rise too, because I think a lot of people are just like, why should I care about this? You know what I mean? Like, and I think a lot of reasons people, especially men, don't engage in gay sex or gay acts is because even if I have some friends that, you know, I think are more bi than they let on. But they feel maybe embarrassed to actually do the act because then they're like, well, if I do this now, I'm gay. It's
suddenly like, there's a label involved.
Yeah, well, it's like, no, you're just bi and that's fine, you know? So it is interesting how that's changing.
I heard a really interesting topic being discussed. I wish I could say that I read this in like a scientific journal, but it was probably on TikTok or on Instagram. But a woman discussing that gay men are actually now the preservers of masculinity. Have you heard this theory?
I have. Yeah.
Because, you know, when you think about modern men, to a large extent, they're, you know, gamers and they don't really represent the like traditional masculine ideals of like a man in uniform or like a construction worker or like those tight jeans and like ripped bodies and kind of that like concept of trade, which I don't know if that exists in straight culture, but like that like very coveted ideal masculine man. And gay men have like preserved that concept and like kind of idolized it and then in a way sort of recreated it in their own way. Like think of, you know, gay men of the 80s and like YMCA and that sort of, right? So that masculine ideal doesn't exist in straight culture, but it's still kind of like what women think of as a masculine ideal as well. I don't know where I was going with this, but it's such an interesting concept to me.
It's interesting to me that like I've seen a lot with like misogynistic men, like some straight men that I'm around, like as soon as a woman like opens up her mouth, their brain stops listening. Even if like they're pretending to listen, it's like I've been in meetings, I've been a lot of places and it's like the brain stops, they're like wandering, they're looking at their phones and then it's like, oh, if like a man, like to be honest, Nick and I like do business deals together, owning a company together. And sometimes a lot of men will not listen when I say it, and Nick can tell they won't listen. So then he'll re-say what I said. And then they're like, that's such a great idea. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But
Great
like,
point.
Yeah. And then later I'm like, we'll talk about this later. Cause he knows like, that's one of my biggest things. It's like, you can very much tell when people just stop listening to you.
100%.
But like gay men actually listen when women speak and respect when women speak. Obviously we're talking in very much generalizations. But it's like a wild thing. Like, of course I would never want to date a man like that. I want a man who's into his feminine and his masculine and respects women.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of the old way of it, I would say, like our age and older, a lot of men, like they want women to be there to fuck.
Yeah.
And they want them to be beautiful, but they really just want to hang out with their boys.
Yeah.
They don't really give a shit what women have to say. Yeah. It's like, yeah, look pretty and I want to fuck you, but like, I don't care what you have to say. And I don't respect what you have to say with anything.
Right.
But gay men do. So, and it's like, and a lot of like our gay friends are very masculine and very cool. And it's like, wow, I can go to them and get that. Cause I haven't sorry, I'm getting into the whole thing. I haven't had like a serious boyfriend since like 2017. And people have asked me about that. And I'm like, to be honest, I'm like surrounded by dudes who I have so much fun with and I'm out with all the time. I'm definitely missing like the other side, but I'm like, man, like these are the men who like I prefer to hang out with. Yeah. And to like, find someone who's straight who also respects women.
Yeah.
Well, we're in a place, I think, just culturally and globally that we are all unraveling all of the things we learned about gender roles, femininity, masculinity, and I think we're all on different spectrums of that understanding of like, and realizing, but also all of us realizing in different areas what we've learned isn't totally true.
Exactly.
And like, we have to kind of unlearn it.
And even for people like us that are already, like if you're gay or if you're transgender or whatever, like some of these topics might be more in the forefront for you, but like a lot of people never even have to grapple with these issues. They don't even like consider them, you know? And so it's funny that, everyone, like you said, is starting to unravel. And I think for a lot of people, it's very threatening. And I think you can see that with certain political parties that they're just threatened by that idea that some of these traditional, male, female roles are being, dismantled, and people are scared of that,
Exactly. And that's why I think that like there's the whole culture of like fluidity where like young kids, or not young kids, but like younger Gen Z, they might be a little gay, but they're just themselves, and it just it's not even a conversation or a battle that they wrestle with. Right. Or even I've heard that back in the day, the concept of like being a top and a bottom was like a good point of identity, and in a further label that they used because they didn't really have a lot of role models of like, they were the first, like they didn't have older gay men to hang out with. Sure. So they kind of created these own like roles to play in society. Whereas now like younger gay people like don't really care for like the term,
like switch or whatever.
Or it's just like less of
it's not as much of an advertisement.
Or like a proclamation of like, this is what I am, Whereas like, cause they're kind of undoing just every role that we have to just like be authentically themselves.
And I would also say just to totally disrupt the seriousness of the conversation,
yes,
that being verse is just way more fun.
It's just
better. And it's like, more fun.
I've been in both boxes at certain points in my life, and I'm so glad we don't have to label ourselves as top or bottom, because for a long time I called myself a blouse. Do you know what that is?
No, what is that?
A feminine top.
A feminine top. Okay.
A blouse.
And then there's like a power bottom.
Yeah.
So now I just am like,
too, like even that simple thing of like, if you're a top, you're a more masculine gay guy. It's just not true. Like you can be a top and be feminine. You can be a bottom and be masculine.
Well, it's like people who are like, well, who's the man in the relationship?
Yeah, it's like a dumb question.
Oh my god.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like,
can that question please die?
I
think it's dying. I think it is.
I think
it's dying.
Yeah.
Because then I feel like after that was like, well, who carries the tote bag?
Yeah.
And now it's like a non-issue.
It's like funny that I think within our own community we can make jokes like that and talk about it, but it's like when a straight person is like actually like asking, and I think part of it's education too. I think reacting in a negative way is not the way to go, but really just being like, why did you ask a question like that? Like, what did you mean when you said that? You know what I mean? And a lot of times you'll just say that one disarming question. They'll be like, oh, I don't actually know what I meant by that, or they like backtrack or something.
Yeah.
I feel like you dealt with this a lot. So when we were talking about in the mountains and how you were able to throw such a big party like up in the mountains.
Yeah.
When we lived in Breckenridge, Nick was like known as Gay Nick.
Gay Nick. I know. Well, one thing that when you guys were saying throwing the parties at Chasing Rabbit, it's like it's so good that you guys are bringing that safe space there. And I know so many people from like that were coming from all over the mountains that went, and it's good because Breckenridge doesn't have that, and I've met tourists that would be like, so what's the gay scene like? And after a while I always used to make fun of it and be like, well, you're looking at it. Or people would be like, no, there's gay people here, I know like 5, and I'm like, listen to what you just said, 5 gay people, like, okay, like I think you just proved your own point.
You were a lot of straight guys because it's very like snowboard bro like culture.
Yeah.
You were a lot of our guy friends' first gay friend.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I just like heard you, I would just say late night because we were always at the bars there, and we became, it was during COVID. So we all became a even closer community than is typical of the mountains. And like, I just feel like you were always fielding so many questions till 3 a.m.
I know.
Because like they had just never talked to a straight man. And you're also more approachable because you're masculine. Yeah. So I think they felt a little bit more comfortable.
Nick with the weight of the entire gay community on his shoulders. Like, let me get this right.
All right. So let me explain it. So Charlie XCX, okay? And Lord.
It always comes back to Brett Summer.
I mean, I've had a very similar experience.
Really?
And I was a lot of my straight friends, first gay friend or whatnot. And now it's been, 5 or 6 years that we've been friends. And I've really and they've even told me, a few of them, that they're like, I really appreciate our friendship because I became much more open to a lot of things just by knowing you and disarming a lot of misconceptions that I had about gay people, So, and now I feel like they're like my brothers. Like I can't live without them,
Yeah.
I could see how people could be annoyed with that. And they're like, I'm so glad like Arush or like Nick is like more palatable to you to like understand the whole gay community. You know what I mean? I'm like seeing both sides, but I love that they like also learn because there is a comfortability. Yeah.
I live in a gay bubble.
Yeah.
Like, truly, I would say I can count probably on one hand the number of like real straight identifying people or friends in my life.
Really?
I have almost exclusively gay friends and like no gay people. I also, even like in my job for 15 years before I started throwing parties, I was working in fashion. So the men that I was interacting with were mostly gay.
Yeah.
That's a stereotype, but mostly. So I find myself now, it is like code switching where I like am having a conversation with someone and then I'll see it in their face, or they'll ask an actual question where I'll be like, oh shit, I just opened a can of worms. Like I have to now turn down the volume on my faggotry and go into like educator mode and explain like, but I also live in such a bubble that I don't have to have those conversations that often. So I find myself going, oh shit, how do I explain this? Because I like live in this gay bubble. I grew up in a very conservative environment as well. But the moment I escaped that, I never looked back. Like we talked about going back into the closet here.
Back in the closet.
And I don't like it.
Yeah. Scary world.
Yeah.
Scary world. Well,
I did start like releasing my own music. So
okay. Hey.
Tell us more.
Yes.
Where can we find you? We'll tag all this in the show notes.
Yeah. So I've released a few on SoundCloud. There's one I think House of Mara would love. It's kind of this like fusion of like Indian sounds. Actually, it's a very like Zodiac House, like Burning Man style. But like, I'm Indian and I wanted to have parts of my culture. Like when I grew up, like listening to Indian music was like a big thing for my parents and like our culture, like going to an Indian wedding, like there's all this it's kind of like when you go to a white wedding, how you guys have like the chicken dance or like all these like I don't even know what you guys.
We do not claim that culture.
The chicken dance. Oh my god!
I don't know. This is what I've heard at white weddings.
My culture is not your costume.
At least give us the electric slide. Oh my god! Arush just told me that his culture is not my costume today because of my necklace.
He goes, "Do you like my necklace?" And I was like, "My culture."
I said, "I wore this for you because I think it's kind of Indian vibe."
Wait,
I love that.
So can I ask, do you mind talking about like how it was like as a gay man in Indian culture?
Yeah. I mean, actually, I was very lucky that my parents were, they came here when they were like 16 to 18. So they were kind of like younger when they came to America. They already were kind of embracing American culture more. And they were the black sheep in their family where traditionally you would have an arranged marriage, but they met here and wanted to get married, not traditionally and not arranged, which was like a big deal for their parents.
No, I have goosebumps for that, like weirdly, just because I have been friends with a lot of Indian people. And to be honest, like 50 years ago, 40 years ago, that's very rare.
Yeah. Right when they got married like 30 years ago, like that was just like not very heard of. So they were kind of already the black sheep in their family, and they kind of were like, fuck this tradition stuff. Like, we're going to do what we want. And so I think when I was starting to, obviously they knew from a young age, like I was like singing to Britney Spears, and like my mom had a child care center at the house. So I would like organize all the kids to do like a music video with me. And I was like Britney, and I'd be like, all right, kids, like these are the moves. Making them do every move.
They were your backup dancers.
You're fucking up, Jessica. Like, do it again. Like,
do not make me look bad, Jessica.
I love that.
I have like a video of taking of it.
Wait, that's gold.
Yeah, right. I need to find that for sure. So when I started like, my parents kind of like knew, and my dad was the one that came up to me and was like, and the other thing that I think helped too is that they were atheists, which was also like different for like their culture and for their time. My dad was just not a religious person. So he was like, we just didn't have that kind of like this, like, oh, being gay is automatically bad kind of, culture in our household, at least. So they were honestly super cool with it. Like the first boyfriend that I had, we actually were like engaged. We never got married, but my parents were like, we want to throw your engagement party. Like we want like to celebrate with you, like, and invite like their friends and stuff. And my mom was like, if people don't like it, then whatever, fuck them. So that was cool. I wouldn't say that is a normal experience for most Indian families, but I was lucky in that way to have that for sure. Yeah.
That's amazing. What did you say to me the other day? You were like, being gay is like easy. It's when straight people make it hard.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that. Yeah. I want to use that.
It's a Trixie Mattel quote.
Is it? Nice.
Yeah. It's really good. She was talking about how like, being gay is so easy until like straight people said that they had a problem with it. And then now it's a fucking problem, even though this is just how we are. And just like how a lot of parents will like, not accept their kids, but it's always like the gay people, carry the weight of that on their shoulders. Like, oh, well, she's sick. Maybe I should try to repair things with her before she dies because, whatever. It's like, she's your mom, but it's also like, maybe your mom sucks.
Yeah. Maybe she's
that shouldn't be our burden.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. Yeah. She's the mother. And like, and he said that like, I hope that it's like her biggest regret. If your mom like wanted to be an asshole to you because you were being gay, like it should be her biggest regret. Totally. And that's just like, I mean, that like really hit hard, even though I'm always there to like mend relationships and stuff. And I understand that, but it's also like, man.
But we talked about it. Our family is like very like Christian conservative, to be honest.
Really?
And they family values like won out, like are loving their son.
I know. It's like, imagine like go on.
No, it was just, we were talking like, I think it was earlier today or yesterday. And he was like, and mom and dad were just cool with it. And our entire lives just went on.
It's
and that was it.
Yeah. Like I'm sure like, my parents had to like, wrestle with some things or mourn him getting married to a woman. Like, of course, like going through whatever they had to go through. Totally. But our entire family just went on. Yeah. And we all love each other and we're all the big loving family. And it's like, it didn't have to be hard and it didn't have to be weird.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Look at, oh wow, nothing happened. Yeah.
I come from a conservative background. I actually went to a very conservative Christian college as well.
Oh wow.
Fully, I know. Fully knowing I was gay, but really battling internally, hoping that, well, if I do this, maybe I will meet a woman that I actually love, and like I can suppress this side of me and this part. And oh God, are we doing therapy right now?
Yeah. Is this a mental health moment?
Mental health moment.
Yeah. Mental health moment. But I think I have a very visceral reaction to religion that fights homosexuality or makes that into kind of a speaking point, or like something that, you know, Jesus wouldn't have wanted, or making it into just this big
tool.
Yeah, a tool. Exactly. A tool to fight or like create more warfare between people. Mm-hmm. When I love like looking at people and going, how would, you know, you claim to be a follower of Jesus, right?
Yeah.
And I've studied a lot of the Bible.
Yeah.
What would Jesus actually do? Like, how would have Jesus responded to his son being a gay man? Mm-hmm. And like, what do those conversations look like? So I guess I would say I'm an atheist at this point. I have spirituality. It's not defined, I would say. But when I think about Christianity specifically and how it constantly makes a tool of the homosexual conversation, and it becomes an agenda to fight gay people or just the queer community in general, I'm like, it's laughable to me. I constantly am like, this is so anti what you're talking about.
Jesus hung out with prostitutes and lepers.
Exactly,
like, come on now.
Exactly.
I totally think that's man's either written or interpretation of Jesus's words. Those were my things when I was like, you know, raised very Christian conservative. I was like, if I like in my heart of hearts and like my personal relationship with God and everything I think, I'm like, if he is love, there is no possible way that he's upset about love. There's just no way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was really lucky that my dad was never religious, but my mom was very, very involved in the church. And when I came out of the closet, she went to my youth minister, who I had a pretty close relationship with because I was very involved in the music side of the church. I would sing and lead worship. And he kind of broke it down for her like, well, two things. Like, first of all, this probably isn't a phase. Like, I've never met a single gay person in my life where it was a phase.
It's never a phase.
He's going to be skipping down the yellow brick road. But second, you know, Jesus didn't categorize sins either. Like,
totally.
He didn't say like, oh, your son's homosexual. Well, he's sinning far more than the person, his neighbor who, you know, is lying to his boss, or, you know, whatever the other sin might be. Like, he didn't categorize it. So.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Absolutely.
We made that part up.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite things, we were just on this topic, my favorite messages that we've gotten in, which we didn't think about when we started this podcast, is we've had a few whose people from the LGBTQ community whose families have sort of cast them out. And they're like, you know, the reason I listen to your podcast is because you two are just so close as siblings. And it makes me feel like I'm a part of your family and almost like the siblings I lost. And we get to like hang out and talk about that. And it's just like what I really wish we could have. And that's like why our whole thing is like, we're like, you're in the fam now. If you're listening, you're a part of this. Like, be in the fam, come to the Yes Please parties. And that's just kind of why we're so into podcasting and even helping other people with podcasts. We're like, we need more cool, awesome, like wonderful people with microphones in their hands. Which your first podcast, guys.
Yeah, it's so exciting.
Like, I'm so impressed. Like, very comfortable, very normal. I was
not nervous about the podcast, generally speaking. I just didn't want to say something that would get me canceled.
That's why it's not live. I cancel myself every week. Nick edits that shit out out.
Delete that.
There's so many things I'm like cutting that out for no one to ever hear again.
You don't need that.
I'm like, mm-mm.
Well, that's. I do want to say one other thing that we didn't really touch on is just it's about Yes Please. We're talking about like how the name Yes Please came about.
Oh yeah.
So one of the reasons I felt so strongly about the name Yes Please for our party and for the events is that it is just like a positive affirmation. Like it feels so good to say, yes, please. And it's something that I said all the time. Like it's kind of like a catchphrase. Like when I get excited, I'm like, ooh, yes, please.
Yes,
Yes, please.
Yeah.
And you naturally feel good saying it. So it's like positive, but it's also polite. And it's like, when you say it to somebody else,
Very
it's sort
positive.
of, it's like passing along like that positive energy and that good vibe. And so I hope that the party does that because the name feels very special to me.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
That's so. I was gonna ask about that. I thought it.
We went on a lot of tangents.
Yeah. No, I forgot to even ask. So thanks for doing that. No, that's really beautiful.
No, they're the hosts now. You're brought it back around.
So we've been wanting to ask you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, fabulous. Look out for
Amazing.
all of the links and all of the things
Everything.
in the notes, people, and follow them and support the journey. And we'll see you soon. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.